Hello, this is Sheshachalam from Astroguide Mysore. Today, I'll be discussing on a few frequently asked doubts or questions on Kala Sarpa Yoga. This Kala Sarpa Yoga is a concept which has been recently defined. Recently, in the sense that it is actually 1,500 years old uh, theory which has been formulated by many astrologers, but not by the epic astrologers like the Parashara or Varaha Mihira or this great astrologers. There are a pack of astrologers, big astrologers. They have not defined or even coined that word. But this word of this particular phrase, Kala Sarpa Yoga, has come out very recently, and this has been in detail, discussed by our late, the great astrologer of India, Bangalore Venkatraman. He has very clearly discussed in his last chapter of in the book of 300 important yogas. It's a beautiful book in which he has described exactly with regard to every detail as to what is Kala Sarpa Yoga, from where actually its origin happened and what actually it is. But let us today talk about a few frequently asked questions. So when I keep encountering with the charts, people keep asking, do I have this yoga, sir? Because I have, Rahu and Ketu in the ascendant and the seventh house. So whenever there is Rahu in this ascendant or Ketu in the ascendant, that is the 1/7 axis are having 1/7 axis is having Rahu and Ketu. That doesn't mean that the native is having Kala Sarpa Yoga. First thing. First question clarified is that if there is Rahu or Ketu posited in the first or the seventh house in any native chart, just like that. See, planets will be there on either side of Rahu and Ketu, everywhere mixed. But simple question is asking that because I am having Rahu in the ascendant and Ketu in the seventh, or Ketu in the ascendant and Rahu in the seventh, do I have Kala Sarpa Yoga? No, you don't have Kala Sarpa Yoga. Maybe the person might have other Sarpa Yogas, but not Kala Sarpa Yoga. Because the definition of Kala Sarpa Yoga, if we take the real definition or the, mass approved definition, what will tell that many astrologers of the recent 1,000 years have made a set of definitions, and if we take some definitions and put it together and tell that okay, so this is the majority of astrologers, they are thinking like this about Kala Sarpa Yoga, then the definition would be like this. If Rahu and Ketu would be in a particular axis, and all the planets, including the ascendant, would be in between Rahu and Ketu, then it is known as Kala Sarpa Yoga. That is what has been defined. But there have been a lot of commentaries suggesting. I'll come to the second question of frequently asked questions. Sir, I have Kala Sarpa Yoga. All the planets are between Rahu and Ketu, but Rahu is conjunct with one planet, sir. It is very close by. So the problem here is that how close Rahu should be with a planet, or how close Rahu should not be with a planet for Kala Sarpa Yoga to function or not function. This is another question. It's a very important one actually, because people are totally getting stuck in with this yoga, and they are unnecessarily going so far to performing big yoga, yajnas, havanas, so big charitable work. Charitable work is good, please do it, but that doesn't mean that you have to do it because of fear. You have to do it because of love. Don't do it because of fear. Don't give somebody charity because you are in the fear of losing something, and that's why you feel that if I give 20% here, I'll lose 80% there. Don't think like that. That is a mean way of thinking. Doing charity. Don't do that. Happily give 20%. It's not the percentage at all there. Where is the percentage when you are happily giving something to somebody? You are not trying to save something, right? So people are in the fear before they do charity. So because they go to an astrologer or they go to somebody else and they see the shastra and tell, oh, you have this Kal Sarpa yoga. Oh, you are going to lose this. You are going to do that. Then do this. You take a part of, this is the loss. What can happen? You might lose 100 rupees. So you take this 20 rupees, you put it in that box, the fundraising box, or you do this charity. You go to that particular temple. Do all the charities. It's good, but not because of the fear of losing that 80 rupees. So, coming back to the second question or the doubt on Kalasarpa Yoga, if a planet is conjunct with Rahu or Ketu in the axis, and let's say all the other planets are in between Rahu and Ketu in the cyclic order, then the conjunction, if it is within 15 degrees from Rahu or Ketu, within the arc of the KSY, that is Kala Sarpa Yoga, then Kala Sarpa Yoga nullifies. It loses the strength. The third question comes. What if all the planets are this side, sir, and only Ascendant is on that side? So that is, sir, I have an axis of Kala Sarpa Yoga. I have a strong Rahu, sir. It's exalted in Taurus. Mrigashira Nakshatra, second Pada, super exaltation. So Rahu is there. So that means Ketu is there in Jyeshtha Nakshatra. Very good placement. So I have all the planets here in between, between Taurus, Aries, Pisces, and in this side. And we have only one planet, only one planet, that is Simha. That is one planet, not planet, that is the ascendant in Simha Rashi or Simha Lagna. That is in Leo. So, does Kala Sarpa Yoga happen? People are telling that this is Ardha Kala Sarpa Yoga. There is another name, sir, Ananta Kala Sarpa Yoga. There is one more. There are around, 12 Sarpas. There are name of Sarpas. Sarpa means serpent. Ananta Padmanabha is a serpent's name. So they will tell Ananta Padmanabha Kala Sarpa Yoga. Whatever the names they keep, if you go into the ritualistic practices of shastras, you will get very good, beautiful names. You can start keeping names. So I can also give beautiful names, suggest names, but that is not the way to take it ahead. The crux of majority of astrologers who were defining the Kala Sarpa Yoga very clearly have mentioned that if we are going to believe them, the 75% of them have very clearly mentioned that every planet, including the ascendant, should not have any influence of Rahu or Ketu, or should not be conjunct with Rahu or Ketu, but should be within the arc of Rahu and Ketu. Why am I telling, for in this example, that Rahu is in Taurus, Ketu is in Scorpio, and the planets are in between Rahu and Ketu, that is behind Rahu and Ketu? Why am I not telling ahead of Rahu and Ketu? Because Rahu and Ketu move in an anti-clockwise order. Where is the serpent? The serpent head is the Rahu and Ketu is the tail. So they move like this. So when they move like this, as on date, if you see, Rahu is placed on the edge of Aries, and Ketu is placed on the edge of, in the Chitta Nakshatra, on the edge of Libra. So that means they will move into Pisces. They will not move like this. So they will move like this. So if all the planets are on this side, it will not happen. They have to be on the other side because they will move anti-clockwise. They will not move clockwise. So that means if all the planets as on date, if I speak, Rahu will be moving into Pisces and Ketu will be moving into Virgo. So all the planets as per the definition have to be within Aries till Virgo. So that means it is within the movement of Rahu and Ketu. Not here. It should be here. So earlier what I was trying to tell was the total opposite of it. Sorry. So let us reverse it. So whenever immediately Jnana comes, we have to reverse. Day and night, that is what is Rahu and Ketu. We need to suddenly get the Jnana. When we are discussing about Rahu, we also get deviated because it is such a enigmatic planet, Rahu. Even an astrologer gets deviated. So the point is simple here. When we are discussing about the myths of Kala Sarpa Yoga, Kala Sarpa Yoga does not manifest if the axis is cut with an aspect of even ascendant sitting outside its axis. Very simple. So the number 4, my Rahu is exalted. Is there Kala Sarpa Yoga? My Ketu is exalted. Is there Kala Sarpa Yoga? My Rahu is placed in a beautiful nakshatra, Shatapisha nakshatra, which is in Kumbha Rashi, that is in Aquarius, with all the exact locations of Kala Sarpa. Is there Kala Sarpa Yoga? No, it should not be. But that is not in the definition. The definition does not talk about these things. So if the question is asked and we go to the definitions, in the definition it is not clearly specified anywhere that the status of Rahu should be exalted or not exalted, or whether it is placed in its own sign or over its own nakshatra, whether Ketu is placed over Makha nakshatra, Mula nakshatra, Ashwini nakshatra, Ashwini Makha Mula for Ketu, or Ardra Shatabisha or Swati Nakshatra for Rahu. Not defined. So when it is not defined, let us not get into that depth of understanding. There is another question. What if, Nichmanga Raja Yoga, people try to apply it on Kala Sarpa Yoga. Things are, so nice. So they tell, so if Kala Sarpa Yoga is there in D1 chart, sir, and if I go to the D9 chart and if it is totally reverse, then does this yoga totally get cancelled, or will I get too much profit, or will I totally get the other way around? Because it's Nichamanga. Because Kala Sarpa should now give me extremely benefic results. First of all, we are not talking about the results of this yoga at all. Who has told you whether Kala Sarpa yoga is a benefic yoga or a malefic yoga? Why are people unnecessarily trembling with this word? When I tell Kala Sarpa yoga, they'll be trembling. Oh, Kala Sarpa. There's nothing there to be worried about. The axis of Rahu and Ketu, obviously, it's a very important axis to be understood in astrology, but the axis of Rahu and Ketu should be understood in a spiritualistic manner. Rahu is your materialistic yearning, the inner yearning that I want this. The whole 7 chakras asking that I want to taste, I want to listen to this, I want to do this, I want to touch this, I want to, do all sensual acts through my body in this physical manifestation. That is what is Rahu. Ketu is like, I want to get the essence out of all these senses. So if you disrupt this particular axis, it is like a strong axis. It's like a spindle. You have a thin sharp point at one end and you have a huge ball at the other end. It's like a comet, a huge ball of fire at one end with lot of smoke, and the other end is ice cold. It's frozen. It's the sharp ice cold frozen point of the comet. It's the tail. That is the Ketu. This face of the comet, which is hot and smoky, dusty. It's not hot, it's smoky and dusty. That is Rahu. So it's long. So if we call it as the Dhuma Ketu, then that is what is trying to influence our life. This is the Sarpa. This is the Sarpa, which if you reverse it and put it down from below, you get all the chakras. You get the Mooladhara chakra with the highest potency to pull you to the ground. It's the root chakra, which wants to experience everything. And the topmost chakra, the Sahasrara chakra, the single point, no duality at all. The Agneya chakra and the Sahasrara chakra, no duality at all. The one which is just above the Sahasrara chakra is controlled by Ketu. The one which is just below the Mooladhara chakra, that is the whole body, the Sthula Charira, is controlled by Rahu. I have done this clearly in the class of chakras and planets. So I have done the basic classes of chakras and planets, where I have done my own way of teaching what chakra is controlled by which planet. But there are a lot of conflicts and controversies on that subject. Let it continue. Let the debate continue in this world. When there is a debate, there is a lot of knowledge which interacts, exchange of knowledge. That is why I keep telling Ano O Badra Kratavoyanta Vishwataha. Let it happen. Let knowledge come to us from all directions. So thank you very much for today's class.